Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Future Friday, we're going to talk about core problem with science communication. This topic is very important and it's getting a lot of attention. So let's dive deep into it. So recently some big spotlight has been formed into this. Veritasium just released his video on like 1 November 2023. Yes, I'm making video about it in 2024, but you get the point. And Kyle Hill is also digging deep into this. And they're talking about basically science ecosystem is being flooded with BS. Like first this individual in terms of YouTube, AI, rebuilt, remixed, basically abomination of a channel is being created from content of all creators, and they are just like flooding it, just brain damaging science hulululu, and they're just flooding it. And this is brutal, bad, and long term. Like if YouTube had brains, especially for long term planning, they would instantaneously ban it, because it's like it's good for short term, long term it will destroy them. But like, and again he does brought attention to it, and people have done research on it. It's like it has serious consequences. It's not just like hulululu YouTube. No, it has serious consequence. On top of that, Veritasium also talked about, like, you may say, like, oh, YouTube, who cares? It's for poor people or dumb people or whatever have you. But you also have to understand, Veritasium was talking about scientific journals. You may be like, oh, I study books, I study magazine, I study this scientific. All of them also have the same issue. So like, this is not a wormhole, that was the thumbnail. It's like, every Tom, Dick and Harry, every scientist, like, I love this guy. It's like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like, butter masala, that's just like, yeah, that's bullshit. So, like, how many times have you seen scientific journal going from NASA discovers life to like, no, to like room temperature superconductor to nope, to hulululu super, fusion reactor to nope. That's the whole point. Now, here's the, is there a penalty to this? Like, here's the, it's just like, imagine it as a lame music. Is there a penalty to it? That's the scary part of it. And you must have been noticing it, is that the side effect, it erodes public's confidence in scientific institution. How can you trust an institution? How can you trust a scientist if every time they open their mouth, it's a lie? Now, you may say like it was incomplete or this. It's like, that was the whole point of scientific endeavor. You do not open your mouth unless you are damn sure. Like, if you ever wondered why the heck people have so much divided opinion in global warming, same reason. They opened their mouth before they have nailed down every data set. If you ever wondered why the heck the old movies showed like, flooding of the planet would happen in around in 2000, yeah, they were running wrong calculations. They rushed it. And think one time they did not mess this up was ozone layer. How quickly humanity just got together and just like, let's solve this. Why? It was clear. In global warming, everybody just pooped their pants first, opened their mouth before they have like gone through the rigorous testing. Everybody agreed about it. Now they are doing it. Let that be very clear. Now they are doing it, but they messed it up. They burned the confidence. And what does this mean? Like, if you watch hundreds of science channels, which all of them say contradictory data, if all of them are just BS, and how many scientific journals you can go through, how many news channel you can watch before you're like, dude, they're just lying, or they do not know what's happening. How long that can happen to you as an individual before you go, you know what, they're all liars. Now what happens in that point? Well, you fall back to politician. We left politician for very hard working just to go into science domain, and now we are falling back to safe mode. Like, it's safe setting, BIOS setting. Politician. That's why, like, I respect Donald Trump as a politician. Holy damn, the dude was like unstoppable. Like, I respect him as a politician. And if you do not, like, you have something wrong with you. Like, whether you like him or hate him, as a politician, damn, the dude was powerful. Now, here's it. He said something that was like, you don't actually know, do you? It's like, scientists, like, in front of us, like, no, we know. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, and then I thought about it. It's like, why do people agree with him? Like, I can say that, but here's the deal. I'm the dumb one who actually spent time on this. I'm the stupid one. I had nothing better to do in my life, where I was like actually studying the data. I was parsing it. I am figuring it out. Oh, in 1990, their calculations were wrong. That's why the mathematics did not add up. Oh, that's why this was like, here's the deal. I'm not even joking. They had calculation mistakes where it's like, oh, we kind of forgot that seawater is salty. Like, calculations was done based on distilled water. Not even joking, like, and again, it happens in science. That's how we learn, brick by brick, day by day. But like, if those sort of wrong data comes into common public awareness, people just hate scientists. It's like, dude, you do not know what you're doing. And recent superconductor, that's happened very recently. How the heck that happened? And the nuclear fusion thing is like, how the heck this is the greatest scientific breakthrough? No, the greatest scientific breakthrough in fusion would be the moment you have a fusion reactor that is working. Not some hululu, oh, we achieved break even. We had nuclear H-boom devices from years ago. Oppenheimer was alive when that happened. Like it's ancient technology. We got it. Do not say, oh, we achieved break even. We know how to achieve break even. It's just that, do we have a reactor? Yes or no? If the answer is no, do not talk about it. Work in the background. But they're making announcement about it like orgasm is like, this is the greatest scientific achievement in 20. It's like, all you are doing is burning people off. And again, I have nothing better to do, so I go through this. But most people won't, and then they will fall back to the personality type. It's human brain's default setting. It's like if you everything else is a lie, then you fall back to who gives you the most basically comfortable feeling. So people fall for it. And again, the other side is also this dumb. It's like hydrogen. We're gonna do hydrogen. I'm like, it does not have energy density. It does not have enough kilograms per liter to be useful. You are saying, oh, 1 kilogram is 3 times more powerful than diesel. Absolutely true. It's just that how many liters you have to have. It's like people don't even know liquid hydrogen is 11 liters per kilogram. Again, we studied this in school, but that's the problem. Like if so many miscommunication happens, people lose trust. They fall back to tribal mentalism. They fall back to politicians. It's dangerous. And I'm reasonably sure I do not have to explain how dangerous this thing can be. Both sides, right or left, all of them are wrong. So how the heck this happened? Well, allow me to find the core culprit, education. Now, here's the, at this point in time, mathematically, functionally, humanity has the largest number of educated people ever. And there is a very good chance this number may be permanent, meaning we're only going to go down simply because there is like around 200 countries. Unless you remove the countries that are in Africa, almost all countries are below replacement level, meaning they are dying. Not only Japan, Italy, or South Korea, or India, or China, all are dying. All are below 2.1. So mathematically, we can see it. Other than Africa, all are below replacement level. Out of like around 200 countries, around 150 countries are below replacement level. We don't even know the mathematics. Like this basic mathematics, we do not pay attention to it until the number drops below 1. And then Japan was like, hey, dude, how the heck this happened? It's like, it was happened years ago. Simple mathematics. So as of now, Earth's population is going in very serious decline, and as of now, we have largest amount of educated public on this planet walking any moment in human history or entirety of planet's history. However, it's not real education. Yes, on paper we have diploma, graduation, school, post-school, secondary school, blah, 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 all there. But it's not real education, unfortunately. Now, what does that mean, real education versus education? Well, memorizing facts is not understanding it. And the tragedy is that we kind of knew it. Like, we knew it back in the days, as in like, don't let schooling interfere with your education. Like we knew it very long ago, is that there is a very tangible difference between understanding something and just memorizing it so you can write down in a exam sheet. And sad part is we knew it, we understood it. There are literature from thousands of years, yes, thousands, in every country, every culture, and we never took it seriously. Like we are so smart when we talk about computers, where it's like even AI, where it's like garbage in equals garbage out. Awesome, but here's still that applies to children also. If they learn to memorize things rather than understand things, they're gonna grow up memorizing things. They're gonna grow up reading things and just accepting it. They will not have internal filter because you never built it. Garbage was sent in, they become garbage output. And again, it's not their fault, but if the education system never fixed itself, this will happen. And tragedy is it never changed. Like for almost 1,000 years, we never changed it. Never truly sat down and like, hey, let's improve it. Let's actually memorization. Like yes, kids who have very good with memory, they could literally ace in every single exam and still be horrendously, useless in real world. Real world, as in when they have to work without a framework. So how the heck that happened? Again, difference between knowledge and real knowledge. Like we have education on paper, everybody, the amount of women that are educated is ludicrously high at this point in time. The amount of boys that are educated, ludicrously high. The amount of total population educated, idiotically high, almost 80 to 90%. But here's the deal, it's not real. That's why we are so fumbling with modern industry, in modern reality, because education is not real. Now, allow me to give you some scientific explanations of that. So what does that mean? That simply means our education is mindless. How does that convey in real life? Well, think about this. How many of you remember in your books this line to be written there? We use AC for energy transmission. Now here's the deal. This line is incorrect kind of. But again, if you want your kids to memorize this is a perfect line. We use AC for energy transmission. But the better, where you have understanding, would be, it's a good to basically, we use high voltage for transmission, not AC or DC. We use high voltage. How you achieve high voltage, that's up to you. For example, you have a step-up transformer. We do teach that. We teach that in the same chapter where we teach step-up, step-down transformer and energy transformer. Like again, base level, we have the same thing in the same book, but we teach AC travels to rather than high voltage. Now, consequence of that is that when they grow up, if you ever talk them about high voltage DC, they will fight. I had one of my shorts became successful in Hindi channel, and this is India. And again, from outside world, we look like, oh, everybody is a smart, because again, Pareto distribution, best of the best from India's billions of population translate to, well, whole state of America would be like, you know, we have super duper smart people that much. So people were fighting me. There's like, dude, we use AC for transmission. Like, dude, we use high voltage. And the sole reason we do not do DC transmission is because it's expensive. And heck, here's the tragic part. India is the world's first nation to get high voltage DC that is multi-point, meaning not only from A to B. There are many such connections like that. Heck, it was built in World War II. So we have many, all over the world, we have A to B, bulk transmission lines. But we rarely have A to B to C. India has it, world's first. We were proud of it. And my countryman is fighting me that we use AC2 for transmission. It's like, we use high voltage. If you can achieve high voltage DC, done. Problem solved. It's better. Then why don't we do it? It's expensive. But because their understanding is so flawed because of the mindless memorization, they memorized AC travels. They did not memorize high voltage. That's the issue. Another aspect is, many of you must have hated trigonometry, and I do not blame you. And be mindful, I know some of you would be like, oh, I was the smart kid who understood trigonometry, but removing that few very distinct group of kids, most people hate it. Now, why they hate it? Well, here's the deal. How do you remember trigonometry? You had to study it because it's in math exam, not because it has any use. Here's the deal. People say that they never used mathematics. And there is a reason for that, because their teacher did not knew how to use it. For example, if you have a boy who does not want to study trigonometry and you want to get them excited, talk about sniper scopes. 5 seconds, I can guarantee you they will pay attention. Explain to them, it's like mil dot. Give them a real world physical demo of mil dots, how the heck it allows you to just looking at something, using this mil dot, you can figure out the size and distance of something. I can guarantee you they will never forget in their life how the heck that, of course, they may require a calculator and all that, but they will know what the heck tan theta means. That's how I remember it. So, and be mindful, you do not have to use a sniper scope. It's far more attractive for boys, but if you want something PG rated, talk about engineering tripods, which has laser levelers. There are tools specifically built for that, and you can physically bring it to them, physically show it to them. Like, that's why we study this. I can guarantee you they will never forget it, but we don't do that. And here's the, this goes same for voltage and amps also. We teach voltage and amps by the time you are graduating class 10. We do teach that. Again, different country has different, like some say high school, some say secondary school. It's a different thing, but you get the point. Like voltage and amps, we study it. But here's the, how many of you have just did calculations on paper rather than physically building the damn thing? We study series and parallel. How many of you remember doing that with, let's say, AA batteries or AAA batteries? It's not dangerous. As long as you are below 50 volts, it's not dangerous. Like, this is a 12 volt lead acid battery, powers a inverter. I'm like, tinka chicka, not an issue. Like, but here's the deal. How many of you can just, out of the mind, you can calculate how many cells does it have? Here's it is 12 volt. Guess. If you guess 6, correct. But here's the, how long it would took you. Like, and here's the, how many kids who have cleared this chapter of voltage and amps can answer this. Like, you can give them time, give them calculator also. See how long that it takes them. That's the whole point. We are not teaching. We are just memorize this, solve this in exam paper, and that's it. I'm not joking. Now, again, this is tragic for India, is that even though we have crossed this threshold, we have not mentally crossed it, is that we have computer examination that is done on paper. I have no idea how the heck that's even possible. Like, we literally write things like in basic language, logo. We had to create circles and smaller circles and all that. We had to write that in paper, and teacher had to read that in paper, and then they marked us. I'm like, that is so brain damaged. That is cursed. Like, here's the, I know kids who scored very good in their, computer exam. And in computer book, I studied, RAM, hard drive, the computer parts and that. I gave them a hard drive, they did not understand what is it. Why? Because they never physically saw it. I'm like, what's the point? Imagine it this way, like I'm not joking, there are actual colleges, actual university where kids are like learning electronics and majority of the time is on the books rather than physically building the damn thing. And they are paying for it. Like this labs should be the most important thing if you really want to do something real, because yes dear, books will not pay your bills. Real life things will pay your bills. You physically making something will pay your bills. You physically doing something, or even in case of computer exam, you're not gonna do programming in paper, my man. You're gonna do it in code. But that is common. That's a common thing in worldwide. Like computer labs of school, even American school. Good luck. Like here's how many kids you know, you can just talk to them, hey, can you just remove a RAM stick? Even though they would have studied it, RAM stick, they would have cleared the exam, but can they know what RAM stick is? That's the whole point. Our education was not education. On paper, we did everything, but in real life, we had nothing. That's the whole point. That's the difference between high voltage and AC. If you teach AC, your kid is stunted. If you teach high voltage, they have a data point. Now you tell them, it's like, hey, we have high voltage DC. They're like, wait a minute. They'll think about it. They're like, okay, we take generator voltage, we step it up, then we transmit it. That only works on AC. How the heck? Then they're gonna ask you, it's like, how the heck we get high voltage DC? Then you're gonna say that. It's like, hey, we have the transformer which has high voltage AC, right? Awesome. We put a converter station there. I'm like, okay, what is the penalty? Cost. Okay, now it makes sense why it's not everywhere. You have the data. Trigonometry is like, oh, that's why tan theta is there. Or like my personal favorite, this compound interest. Teach them about mutual funds. Everybody will pay attention. Like give them example. It's like 1,000 rupees. How long does it take to become 10,000 rupees? What kind of compound interest it is? Like so much awesome things can happen, even though we studied all of this and people keep falling for basic scams. Why? We do not actually know. That's the reality of it. So any colleges and university does not focus on labs, especially for scientific things that require lab. Yeah, they did. So why the heck that's happening? Now, here's the teaching is looked upon like a failure in many countries, including India, where it's like, you failed in life, that's why you are a teacher. And I'm guaranteed you must have seen at least one or two scam artists talking about this, where they're like, business professors are not billionaire, which is ironic. Some of them actually are. Like, how? Well, many of them did do proper investing, and many of them do have book deals, and many of them are just good. They're good with money, and they have amplified their wealth, many of them. Not all, let that be very clear, but many of them are. So when Chad guy says that, like, you're gonna listen to your business professor, he's not even driving a Pagani or whatever have you, Bugatti, I think. Yeah, you get the point, right? And in India, it's like, even every country where you have this sort of oppression kind of mentality, be it China, be it Korea, be it Japan, be it, teaching is not looked upon as we do respect them, but it's not looked upon like, oh, you want to be teacher? Awesome, man, great, man. That's why we have this meme. Engineer or doctor. We never have teacher. Let that sink in. Have you ever seen a parent willingly, after birth of their child, I want this kid to become a teacher? Think about it. They might say on paper, as like, the only time we respect teacher is like when you did something, let's say you are an engineer, you did everything engineering life, then you retired and then you became teacher. They're like, whoa, man, you're God. That's what we respect. So think about it. When I say the word professor, does anyone ever comes to your mind that is under 30 years old? Think about it. They can be, they are, but you do not think about it. What we have imagined is someone who's almost retired or retiring. That's the reason. Many cultures have this issue where it's like, oh, you failed. Oh, you became an engineer to teach engineering? It's like, what? No, that means you failed. You were not a good engineer. And this creates toxin in the starting of the supply chain. And it has consequence. We have learned it the hard way. Like if you understand how the heck people fall for courses rather than even though they are studying in the colleges, because this line, business professors are not billionaires. So, and poor places, basically places who are just come to wealth recently, like India. India, in my case, I'm in very rich time of my nation. But here's this, 75 years ago, India got its independence. We had nothing. Like we had nothing, zilch, zero, nothing. So it took a lot of sweat, blood and tears to reach to a point from starving 33 million people to 150 million sorted. It took a lot of time. Now here's the deal, there is a penalty for that. If crawling through that sort of hell escape does require a penalty, the penalty is your mind is corrupted. It's almost goes into a like survival mode. Same happens with Japan, same happened with Korea. Basically any places which has suffered way too much for way too long, it always comes back to this effect. So where you can notice this, all these places, China, India specifically, is very obvious. It's like we do not study for studying sake, we study for exam sake. India is like, it's horrible. Even in China, it's like, why are you studying? So I can clear this exam. They have no mind beyond that. Like, exam is not just a thing, oh, I am going through there, I want to be this, exam is just in the way. No, exam is the way. They have that location, and India is suffering horrendously because, and China is also suffering because of it. It's just China is very good at keeping it behind closed door. Like in India, we have bonkers amount of engineers, not just one or two, bonkers amount of engineers. Like, you will be shocked. Like, you can put entirety of European Union on one side, we have that many engineers. Now, like, wait a minute, then why India is not flying yet? Well, they are not getting jobs. Like, wait, what? Yeah, that's the whole point. They're focused so, like, from the moment of their birth, engineer or doctor, they became engineer, and they're like, okay, you're gonna do this. Like, they have no mind, no eyes, nothing. It's like they're studying just to clear exam. It's brutal in India, like very brutal. So that creates a basically fundamental brain damage, where it's like, dude, exam is just a step you take to reach our destination. It's like, in our case, destination becomes the exam. This is common in any place that has gone through way too much suffering, and it destroys learning. Like, everything is like how much numbers you get in exam. You will not pay attention to your labs, you will not pay attention to your actual problem solving skills, you will only pay attention to me getting numbers in exam. So it's one of those things. And secondary consequence of that is, like, because of poor parenting is like parents who were financially poor, if they got even a middle class, let's say they were in lower class in the first generation, in second generation they became middle class, they force their kid to do everything. You can see that in India and China and Japan. It's like, kid has to be good in like sports, kid has to be good in like, you know, education, kid has to do in co-curricular activities. I'm not joking. Right now in schools in India, there are so many co-curricular activities. I'm like, and the cost, I'm like, dude, a grown adult can't do that many things. It's just physically impossible. They have so many things. That's why even though on paper we have education, we have billions of people educated, we have surprisingly few. Like, literally we are in the same place where we were in 1800s, where we were in 1700s, where it's like tiny group of people, Pareto distribution, apply Pareto distribution to the calculation, and just like this many people, they're running the nation. And the whole bottom front, even though on paper they can read things, on paper they can study things, they do not actually know those things. So it's very easy for them to be bamboozled, so to say. So that's why things are bad. Now, this is New Year, so I wanted to go into a different direction. Let's solve the problem. Now, is there a solution to this? Thankfully, yes. And thankfully, enough people have woken up to this reality where they're like, dude, we cannot rely on this idea of, like, you know, because in India, we have a lot of poverty. Again, relatively very little, but because our huge population looks huge, it's just that some of them always have this idea. It's like one kid, because became Ambani, like the world's richest person kind of. Yeah, for short duration, they reached like top 10 or maybe even first. Ludicrously rich. They came from like literal slum to that, and proper business, not scam, proper business, Ambani we call it. And they're like, you know, everybody was like, no, just no. It would be better for your a nation is like if majority of you just got to middle line, basically middle class. From bottom to middle class, that's awesome. Then your children could jump to higher one. It's just one kid jumped there. Now everybody's like, we do not have to change anything because, like, you know, one became. It's like, never focus on that one. Never focus on the best, you know, cream of the cream of the cream. Never focus on that, like, you know, best of the best of the best. Always focus on majority, whatever that number may be. That number could be 60% of the total population. That number could be 80% of the total population, but always focus on that. Do not focus on that one individual did anything. If you want your nation to grow. So assume you have a youngling under your care. What can you do? Well, the best thing you can do is link book lessons to reality as quickly as possible. Meaning, if they are studying about voltage, current, buy a freaking multimeter. Show them watch clock batteries, show them AA batteries that is used in a remote. If you have things like this, show them. Like, and trust me, that 15-20 minutes of effort that you're going to put in that will permanently help them to permanently remember. They don't even have to remember, they understand it. They have the neural conduction to, oh, this is what it means, or this is what it is. So trust me, link everything. Like, if they are studying percentage, explain bank interest rates, show them. It's like, hey, you have 1,000 rupees, that's how it gets multiplied, that's why you have to be patient. Like all those things will become life lessons, and they will know how that mathematics works. It will give them a bit of immunity against being scammed. Now again, let that be very clear, does not mean they will never be scammed. It simply means the scammers have to do a bit of effort, not just like, dude, how the heck you fell for this. It will be like, oh damn, that was some quality schemes. So this is your first priority. Link everything. And yes, like for example, when we show kids, like, you have ice, you have water, you have steam, show them ice, put them in their hand, like then put it into a gas stove and show them like it's melting. Of course, don't let them touch that. And then like when water becomes warm, completely melted, and then let them, it's warm. Now you put boil it, the steam, like put the hand in the steam, not fully super saturated, but you're not gonna reach super saturated. It's like, oh, it's hot. Let them sink in, like fundamentally, oh, water, I saw water, I changed water, I converted water from solid, liquid and gas. They will remember it permanently, and they will actually understand the phase state happens. So it's complex, let that be very clear. It is complex. The trigonometry one, yeah, that's gonna take some time, effort to get it done. But trust me, it's worth it. And be patient and be kind. Be kind, especially for poor places people, basically India and China and Japan and South Korea. It's like, be patient. It's like, yeah, it's gonna take time. Because again, the moment you try to do this, you will understand how hard it is. Trust me, I guarantee you. And then only focus on few core things. This is critical. For that, 1 percentile, remove that. For majority of them, they're not going to be 100% in every exam. Do not focus on that. Focus on few core things. Which core things? Thankfully, this is one thing that our education system did got right. Language. Thou shall know language. However language, like 1 language, 2 language, 4 language, does not matter. Language. You should know 1 language thoroughly well. Whereas like, I know the language. Like I know how to read, write, study. You need to know that. Language has to be core focus. Comprehension. Now this is the hardest thing to achieve, and it's a growing kind of skill set. It's not like your kid can read a book, let's say in class 4, does not mean it truly understands the comprehension. And do not be mad about it. It will take time to reach a point where it's like, oh, deeper meaning of things, like what's the essence of it, context clues. It will take time to grow, but these 2 things have to be there. And then we come to another aspect, how successful they will be in life. Yeah, team. Study any successful business who is not a scam. Most of them had a team. Like Steve Jobs to Bill Gates to whatever have you. They always had some people, or one good friend. They always had someone who's like working with them. Team building. If they are competing, that's awesome. But you have to understand, competing must be a switch response for them. They're like, if they are racing with their friend, they must be competing. If they are working with their friend, let's say they are doing studies, they must be in a cooperative mode. They must know how to switch the gear. Basically, how you have your gears, they must know that. They have to do fast and furious on that. If they can deal with this, they're gonna do amazing. You can take 1 genius programmer versus 5 above average programmers, 5 above average programmers. If they know how to work in a team, yeah, this genius programmer got. And that's how world works. So these things matter, and be mindful. Competition is good and all, but humanity does not thrive on competition. We thrive on competitions of between groups. So if communism as a group is competing against capitalism as a group, then both groups will survive and one will die. But you get that point. It always has to be in groups. And focus on understanding rather than memorization. This is, again, every scientist talks about this. Like, children are genuinely curious. They want to learn. They want to do things. It's just that yes, sorry, I had to use that language, but you get the point. Like, we are literally caused that much brain damage. Whereas like, just memorize the damn thing, write it in an exam and just be done with it. It's like, no, you will regret it brutally. And you have to understand what kind of behavior you reward. Self-study. If your kid touches self-study on their own, 80% of your life's problem solved. Problems are like, if they do self-study genuinely, and because self-study improves comprehension. Comprehension improves the output of self-study. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you have language, you have self-study, you improve comprehension, it starts a feedback loop. If they have this, problem solved. If your kids can open a book and read it on their own, problem solved, man. Like, you are 80% done. 80% self-study. And this is another thing, like in India, we have coaching, more coachings, more education, more coaching. No, self-study. Your brain has to engage the gear. Your brain has to be on the steering. Your brain has to be, like, as a kid's point of view, that has to be there. And you have to reward tries. If they're trying something, failing is not a different thing. It's not a difficult thing. You're supposed to fail. It's like, you're not gonna learn how to ride a bicycle. It's like, I pick a bicycle, me smart. That's not how it works. You are supposed to fall. So always reward self-study and tries. If they are trying to solve something, awesome. Help them, guide them. And if you're like, hey, I want my kid to be good at science, do whatever you can do, find them the nearest maker club. And I've seen, basically, this is one thing that I have to say, European Union and America is learning, most of them, where they have communities for children's, for specifically for maker community. And this community, where the kid is freaking smaller than the laptop they are using, somehow they are able to program the damn thing, program full microcontrollers, building robots, like actual robots. And these are kids. These are 10 times smarter than most people who clear exams and they're like, oh, I got 95% in computer exam. I did not even understand how the heck kids can have this level of comprehension. It's like, oh, they figured this part, comprehension and self-study. They are doing on their own. You're just guiding them and physically touching them. Like these puppies have to be engaged. This is not engagement. Engage it in all things. Oh, I have 3 dimensions. Oh, I can think in this. Like things they are building, it's like strangely horrifying. It's like, dude, you just figured it out. Like what? You're building a satellite. Oh, one of them built it, by the way. Not even joking. So that's the whole point. If you want your kid to be good in science, find these things. Do not waste time on like this book or this coaching and all that or this courses. Spend time in this. They will actually be competent. They will actually be able to do something. Be very mindful. Exams never pay for your bills. Only things you do with your skill set pays for your bill. Be it software, be it hardware. As long as you do something, you get paid for it. So this is one thing, like if your kid can learn how to work in a team and have that competition gear like on a proper control, where it's like, I need to compete, competing baby, I need to work with each other. They have to have that comprehension, language, work on these 3 things. 90% of chance they can touch this self-study, guide them so they can actually stay in there, problem solved. And again, you want mastering in the science, because again, here still, what is the other benefit here? They have to communicate. Like they are building robots. Unless your kid is super genius, most of them will require working with 5 or 6 kids who know other things, and like one would be good in programming, another would be good with physically gluing things together, another would be physically good with motors. Then they are like, oh, there is a robot, and yes, they have built it, and yes, it's scary how good it is. So there is a solution. That's the good news. If we can improve our education from a fundamental level, we can solve this problem where we not let this world self-destruct because of our primal fail-safe mode. Like that fail-safe mode is awesome when we did not have nuclear warheads. It's not awesome when we have nuclear warheads. We need to improve. And thankfully, there are tools, there are methods we can do. Each of us can do our part and solve this situation. So there is a solution. That's the good news. So this was my presentation on basically the core problem of science communication. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.